This show is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find the other great shows on the network, head over to the deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hold on, stop.
Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that.
Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill. You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick. What is going on? This is Take on the World Lockup, and I'm Mike D. I have been a corrections officer and worked in 2 different jails over the last 33 years. I've always found jails and prisons to be interesting, and that started even before I worked in the jail. Over the years, I have visited or toured a number of jails all over the country. In fact, the door behind me was the main front door for a jail in 1933. It's solid English oak and weighs about 600 pounds. The Take on the World podcast table is made from a cell door, also from 1933, also English oak, solid. I have visited LA County Jail, Cook County, Illinois. I have visited Joliet State Prison. I have visited a World War II Japanese prison on the small South Pacific island of Saipan, as well as multiple other county jails around. I have never found 2 jails to be set up or operated the same way. I started this additional content of Take on the World to explore the many ways jails are different around the world and how they're set up, how they're operated, and also what it's like to be locked up in them.
I'm Kyle Curtis Flett. You like to talk about movies? So do I. I'm on YouTube where I do interviews, reviews, rankings, live streams, unboxings, and much more. You can also catch me on Facebook or Twitter at Return of the Living Flett. I have huge passion for what I do. I love talking about horror. I love talking about movies in general. And with that being said, keep on streaming.
Which brings me to the first jail I'd like to cover. And this one's new to me. This is the one that gave me the idea to do this additional content. I'd never heard of this type of jail before. I'd never seen it before. I woke up one Saturday morning and my son said, "Hey, Dad, have you ever heard of a Squirrel Cage Jail?" I was like, "Boy, you better stop making up words." And he was like, No. I just saw it on a paranormal show." So he rewinded the show, and I was amazed that it was a style of jail I've never heard of or seen before. The Rotary, or Squirrel Cage Jail, was first accepted and built in 1882 in Crawfordville, Indiana. It was the brainchild of 2 American engineers, William H. Brown and Benjamin Ha. Although my research tells me there were 16 of these jails built, I have only found that 11 were built, and they were primarily across the Midwest, Texas, and West Virginia. Only 4 of those 11 remain standing today. Only one of those 4 is still functional, and that happens to be the oldest one built in Crawfordville, Indiana. The design was basically a cylinder cut into sectors or pie shapes, each functioning as an individual cell. These cylinders were stacked 2 or 3 levels high. It was surrounded by an iron cage that only had one opening on each level that would grant access to one cell at a time. The surrounding iron cage was stationary. Much like a Lazy Susan, the entire block was mounted on a central column so it could rotate the sections around the exterior iron cage. The idea was, because there was only one entrance and egress to the cell, the jail could be operated with less staff while giving that staff more control. Staff could move inmates in and out with very little direct contact between staff and inmates. Some at the time questioned the design, wondering why the engineers decided to rotate the interior of the cell block rather than just the exterior cage. However, when I look at the layout, it's my opinion that moving the exterior cage would have made it necessary to build a tier or walkway around each level, rather than just a stairway where the opening is to move inmates in and out. This concept was considered nearly escape-proof, and to the most part they were correct. It was so secure, even the inmates themselves knew it was inescapable. So much so, in fact, The inmates who wished to escape would put their arms or legs through the bars as the cell rotated to break their arm or leg in hopes for a trip to the hospital, where they could try to escape either on the trip to or from the hospital or while they were being treated. Broken arms, legs, and severed limbs were common at these jails. As I said, the first one was built in Crawfordville, Indiana, and is the only one that still functions today. It had 16 cells on 2 levels, and only required 1 officer on each level. The system was also unusually nimble, and the gears, when well oiled, allowed 1 person to rotate the block with the help of a hand crank. This particular Squirrel Cage Jail had features that were considered a luxury for the time. A ventilation system that allowed for the free flow of air throughout the cells. It was heated during the winter and had indoor plumbing and bathrooms in each cell, as well as flushable toilets. However, the Rotary Potawatomi Jailhouse in Council Bluffs, Iowa, had no heat. And I can tell you from personal experience how cold Iowa can be during the dead of winter. The Potawatomi Jail is also supposed to be haunted. There have been multiple reports of paranormal activity at the jail. It is believed to be haunted by the people who died in the jail, as well as former jailers who lived on the 4th floor apartment of the building. It was built in 1885 and stayed in use till 1969. It was originally built on the site of a morgue for the old St. Paul Episcopal Church. During its operational years, there were several deaths at the jail. 1 prisoner had a heart attack, yet another was found hanging in a cell. Yet another fell to his death while he tried to climb the cage to the ceiling to write his name on the ceiling. The final death happened during the Farmers Holiday Association strike of 1932, when 84 protesters were arrested and put in jail. The police department armed themselves with machine guns because they were afraid angry farmers would storm the jail to set the prisoners free. An officer shot himself amongst the confusion. There is also a report of a sighting of a mournful little girl dressed in gray inside one of the cells, as well as the voice of the girl on the 3rd and 4th floors. The most famous inmate at the Potawatomi jailhouse was the Tacoma axe killer, Jake Bird. It is rumored that he put a hex on people and now haunts the jail. Visitors over the years have also reported feeling someone tugging at them and just an intangible feeling of a presence with them. Whether or not these reports are true remains a mystery, but there is no denying that this building has had its share of darkness in its past. All 4 standing Squirrel Cage Jails are now museums. While the Squirrel Cage Jail design may not be the most efficient, I certainly think it's one of the most unique I've ever seen. If you are in Crawfordville, Indiana, Council Bluffs, Iowa, Gatling, Missouri, or Sherman, Texas, make it a point to visit the Rotary Jail in that city, and so you can see something very unique. Thanks for listening, and now go take on the world, but don't get locked up doing it.
This show is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find the other great shows on the network, head over to the deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hold on, stop.
Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials.
Wow. Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill. You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.